All right, so if you are a founder, a sales leader, a sales manager, even a sales rep, or you work in operations, then this video should be very helpful for you. We have listed out the 9 principles that we are currently seeing behind hundreds of different CRMs and sales organizations that cause problems day in and day out. So if you create awareness, you create more accountability to these actual principles, then you will end up making more money, you will close more deals, and you'll have a smoother process. Everyone will be happier. So we're going to dive right in. Revenue hiding in plain sight. Now, the SmartView audit that uncovered $2.1 million. Now, this is pretty crazy. Earlier this month, I ran a quick audit across a few client accounts. There's no AI, no dashboards, just a smart view and some curiosity. Now, curiosity is going to drive sales success, both on the sales leadership side and the operations side. Now, we basically just created a super simple smart view. You can do this in HubSpot, Close, whatever CRM you're using. If you can't do it, you need to figure out how to do it. And we looked at basically any deals or opportunities where a call was completed, the outcome was follow-up or long-term follow-up, incomplete tasks was set to none, upcoming meetings, none, and then last communication date was not within the last 30 days. So basically these are deals just sitting idle. And in short, they had already shown interest, but they went silent. And we discovered, you can see right here, these are actual client results. So I went and just pulled 4 random accounts. I was curious and it was kind of mind blowing. So 1,314 deals were sitting in our first account, 349 in another, 153 in another, and then 24 deals in another. Now, if you just look at a 10% right here, 10% assumed close rate. Now, these are follow-up deals. These are warm leads that we actually had a conversation with. We should be able to assume that those could close at 10%. And that is $2.1 million in dormant revenue just simply sitting there. So the principle we want to make sure we're hitting is before building more pipeline, go collect what is yours. So many of you are concerned, including myself, on top of funnel and producing more leads and better quality leads. But the question is, are we actually using the leads that we already have? Do we even need more leads? Now, the second one is speed to lead and the hidden drop-off curve. Now, everyone knows speed to lead is important, but every lead has a half-life, and here is what we continue to actually observe. In 0 to 5 minutes, they are 8 to 10 times more likely to close. Now, within the 1 hour to 16 hours, you have about a 80 to 90% decay. So leads are actually forgetting the interaction even occurred. They forgot, they basically opted in for multiple things. Like if let's say you're in plumbing and I need a plumber. Well, I'm going to go call 4 or 5 businesses. And how quickly you get back to me is almost going to ensure your success in securing that job. Now, here is where it gets really crazy. Within 24 hours, we have a 90 to 90% drop off. Basically means that they are a cold lead again. Now, it's not just about speed, it's about decaying intent. We got to think every lead that comes through our sales pipeline or our sales motion has intent or some level of intent at that point, but it decays very quickly. So the principle on this one is every minute you delay, you're buying back your own trust at a premium. All right. Now, connection rates are collapsing and it's not your rep's fault. This is huge. If you have not looked at your connection rate inside of your sales organization, if you have any type of outbound motion, you need to go check this out. If you don't know how to find your connection rate, schedule a call with us. We'll help you identify how to actually, calculate that connection rate. But basically what is happening is carrier spam flags are happening more than ever. So stir and shaken protocols with the carrier itself. It's killing pickup rates. There's prospect fatigue. People are tired of getting outbound dialed. Local presence dialing, which used to be everyone's savior, isn't working like it used to. So it's no longer novel, basically. And then we have number burnout. So high volume dialing is getting flagged by the carrier. The carrier is just marking that number saying, hey, don't let this number, have a high connection rate, basically. And then lastly, you also have this issue where you guys are on Twilio, and Twilio numbers have basically multiple connection points. So you're actually just dropping calls in the process anyways, unrelated to this spam flagging. So the solution there is dialer And I'll put a link in the description below if you've never heard of dialer.io. That's going to allow you to rotate numbers automatically. It's going to allow you to check your number health and make sure that all of your numbers are actually healthy. It's going to help you follow the FTC guidelines and make sure that our connection rate is as high as possible. Now, when we implement dialer.io or another system like that, we're typically seeing about 5 to 10% connection rate on average across all industries. And when we implement something like dialer.io, we are seeing 20 to 50% connection rates, depending on the type of lead and your industry. Now, if these are inbound or hot leads, that actually can go all the way up to 60, 80%, depending. So principle here, don't outsell a bad signal, protect your phone numbers like assets. Make sure you check your connection rate and your phone number health. Next one is SQL versus MQL. And I'm pretty passionate about this one because I never used to blame marketing in any sales situation. We always tried to take accountability. But my opinion on that is shifting and quickly because for some reason in the last, I'd say 6 to 12 months, we are seeing that the SQL, and for those of you that may not know what SQL is, sales qualified lead. That means they're ready for a sales conversation. And then you have MQL, which is a marketing qualified lead. Okay. These are different. Now, in your actual funnel, let me draw a little funnel here, right? We have these different layers. Your SQL and your MQL need to be in different places, okay? And what is important to note here is your SQL should be pushed as far down the sales funnel as possible to get high intent leads. Now, that depends on these 3 factors right here, which are really, really important. You have volume, you have quality, or you have balance. So if you have super high quality leads but low volume, you want to push that SQL closer to the top of funnel. If you have low quality leads, but high volume, you want to push that SQL in the opposite direction, towards the end of the funnel with more qualifying, okay? Create more friction for people to actually schedule a call. And then you have balance. So can we find the perfect balance point inside of here? Now, the principle that I wrote here is define the line between MQL and SQL, or watch morale die chasing ghosts. And the reason I say that is if you keep putting MQLs on the sales calendar, you're going to naturally create friction and frustration with the sales reps, with the sales leadership. So marketing and sales needs to come together. You need to sit down and identify exactly what you're defining as an MQL, what you are defining as an SQL. And what this will allow you to do is no one can get frustrated because you signed the line, okay? You said, yes, I am counting this as an SQL, which means me as a sales leader, I'm responsible for closing those deals, right? Now, it's never going to be a perfect first try. Typically, you're going to have to move it around and figure out what you want to define as an SQL and MQL and what is fair. So number 5, set rates are dropping and often misdiagnosed. And this one is kind of painful for certain people depending on where you lay in the organization, because a lot of times setters are getting blamed for something that is not their problem. We recently saw a client where set rates dropped about 30%, okay? And we couldn't figure out why. At least that was before we asked the right questions. So that is why I've listed these here. We have to ask the right questions. Is it the setter's skill? Well, quickly listening to the sales conversations, we can figure that out. But we need to go a couple levels deeper. So we need to figure out, hey, are all the leads getting the same as when we had that higher 30%, 30% higher close rate? A lot of times what we find out is there is actually a shift in the traffic source. There is a shift in messaging or targeting or the content that is being put out. Or there's a degraded handoff process. So, however that lead is actually getting to the setter, there's a degraded process. So if your MQL, going back to the other page, if your MQLs have shifted in direction or your SQLs have shifted in direction, then this is also going to play into that. So make sure before blaming your sales team or your setters that you really understand everything that has changed, and then we can start taking accountability from all sides on what actually happened. This will prevent you from having to let go of people that you might not have needed to let go, and just make a much more clear picture. So make sure you analyze the entire thing. You ask the right questions, check your lead sources, check your messaging, check your content, etc., for any changes. Now, number 6, show rates. Show rates are relatively the same. Everyone is going to struggle with them, but the answer is always the same. And I want to go what improves show rates right here. So timely SMS and email reminders. This is not rocket science. This is something that is always existed. We need to make sure we get them SMS and email reminders, that they need to be engaging, that they shouldn't just be straight up automated, ugly text messages. The second is pre-call value. And there are some people that do this really, really well. Some people that don't do this at all. You are, and if we just jump to the principle actually down here, the calendar isn't commitment, emotion is. So we need to incite emotion, especially let's say in the high ticket coaching space. When someone schedules a call, let's say for a fitness offer, and they want to lose weight, well, typically there is a life event or something that just recently happened that triggers that emotion for them to want to book a call to lose weight, right? Normally we don't just wake up one day and say, oh yeah, I want to book a bunch of calls to lose weight, right? It's usually something that happened. Their spouse said something, or they have an event coming up. They have a life change. They had a health scare, something like that. So the pre-call value needs to really be positioning you to solve those types of problems, or at minimum, asking more information and having a pre-call conversation to get the answer to that question so that you can send that pre-call value. Now, content and insights provided up front, just automate that, send something over, and then application filters. Make sure that you are creating enough friction before booking a call that you are able to filter out the people that are not serious. Okay. Now, again, that goes back to MQL, SQL. The middle ground is where we actually want to be. So, 7, AI in sales ops, not theory, but tactical now. This is pretty huge. If you guys are not trying to find a way to implement AI into your sales process, you will be falling behind. Some of our clients, we have agents for all kinds of different things that we're building for them. We have follow-up agents. We have risk auditors, content creators, metric agents, script builders. Basically, we are looking at 3 things. So we have basically this feedback loop where we have managers up here. We have marketing over here. We have sales reps, right? And we have this feedback loop, if you will, between the 3. We have the amount of time it takes to provide coaching and insights to the sales reps after they took a call. We have the time it takes for a manager to communicate marketing changes or challenges to the marketing team. And then the cycle just continues to repeat. The tighter we can get this feedback loop, the more successful our entire sales and marketing organization is going to be. The more sales we're going to make, the more money we're going to make. So the question is, how do we tighten those feedback loops? And that's where these AI agents can really help out. So for the manager and sales rep one, basically, we looked at like if you have a team of 12 reps and 1 manager, each rep is taking about 4 calls a day, and they're doing 12 hours of call reviews. That's only about 4% of total calls that are being taken per week. Okay. So can you really get a good idea of what is happening if you're only grading or listening to 4% of the conversations? So AI can listen to that call. It can pull up all the objections, any deal risk as far as what, maybe next steps weren't sent, sentiment, buyer profiles, all of that based on that conversation. The second piece is that can feed it back to marketing. So what is the most common objections, right? What are we hearing on these calls? What level of brand awareness did that person have while they were actually on the call? So they have first time contact, do they have some brand awareness, a lot of brand awareness, et cetera, et cetera. And agents can automate all of this for you and get you really, really good insights. So now you're able to look at 100% of the calls instead of 4%. Next up is sales ops versus sales management. Know the line. I had to have a tough conversation with a sales leader the other day that basically sales management sets direction and creates accountability. Sales ops builds the systems to execute the vision at scale. And the easiest way to think about it is this principle down here. It says sales ops is the COO, sales leadership is the CEO. One sets the direction and the other makes it executable. So sales ops is not there to manage your sales reps. Sales ops is not there to create accountability. Sales ops is not there to design the sales motion itself. Sales ops is there to support in creating systems that allow you to run the sales motion that is best fit for your organization. So the best way to think about it, again, sales leadership is the CEO, sales ops is the COO. One makes it real, one comes up with the vision. They should be working together in tandem. But as soon as you have the sales ops person or the ops person taking care of leadership problems and management problems, you will waste a ton of time. They are not fit for that role. That is not their job. And you ultimately can have two people responsible for one thing, but only one accountable for it. Okay. So responsibility and accountability are different. Now, the next is new channel watch, Instagram DMs as a pipeline. Obviously, DM settings has been around for a long time, but in the past 90 days, that has completely changed. A new software came out called Ellipsend, and Ellipsend allows you to basically combine mini chat and a CRM for Instagram. So it has all the automation capability that mini chat has, but it basically works as like HubSpot for Instagram or Close for Instagram. So you can track your DMs in the pipeline. You can look at all of your conversion metrics. You can look at your agent activity. And this is a complete game changer because previously there was two big unknowns. What is my DM setter actually doing? How many messages are they sending? How many leads are they engaging? And the only way to figure that out was them putting it on a spreadsheet and you hoping that they didn't mess it up or lie about the fact of what they're actually doing. The second was what kind of content is actually creating sales, right? What kind of content are we putting out that drives sales? Because if we put out 10 posts, one might have drove 90% of those sales. So it is the first time we can actually attribute sales data back to the individual post, back to the individual campaign, back to the individual call to actions. So it's a really, really cool. Go check it out. Ellipsend. It is a game changer if you do any type of social selling, and they are going to be integrating here soon with YouTube, LinkedIn, etc. Now, final thought, guys. The best operators aren't obsessed with what is working today. They're obsessed with understanding what is being missed. We need to be looking in the future. We need to, especially with AI, start being more creative about how we think about processes. We don't need to recreate the wheel, but we do need to optimize before we get left behind because your competition, your, people selling against you are evolving. Okay. Now, the money is usually already in the system. You just haven't looked at it from the right angle. Stop going top of funnel if you haven't fixed your mid and bottom funnel, right? If there are leads in the system and you aren't working those as efficiently as you need to be, then stop, okay? And then lastly, see it, reclaim it, and refine the machine. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end and you want to take a look at your sales system, you want to make sure that all of these pieces are dialed in and 100%, feel free to schedule a call with me or someone on my team and we'll take a look. But with that, Jordan Park, I am out of here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and that this provides some value to your organization.